and final module of this. So the good news is we've got more exciting things to come next semester. And I really want to thank Rebecca and Carissa for all of the hard work they put in to make these sessions available, and a great big shout out to Valdosta State University for also making these sessions available to you guys. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to work with y'all. So today we're going to be talking about slow cooker and slow cooking, and you have some resource information about slow cookers and what you can and can't do with those, but I'm also going to highlight those in just a few minutes as we go through the information. And we will be highlighting 3 recipes today, so we've got a lot to go through. I may run a bit over, so if you can stick around, great, but if you have to jump off, that's fine too. But we're going to go ahead and dive right into this. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about preparing a crowd-pleasing meal in an easy format using the crock pot or the slow cooker. So we're now in the fall season, what is traditionally considered a slow cooker season. However, I think slow cookers could be used throughout the year, especially here in the South where it's so hot. And it's much more convenient to use these slow cookers than it is an oven, because that means you've got to turn the air conditioner up. So think about using this year-round, not just during the fall and winter months here. So there are very few cooking tools as convenient and versatile as the slow cooker, especially if you don't have hours to spend at the stove. So we are preparing 3 recipes today that are traditionally cooked in an oven or on the stovetop, but they work beautifully in slow cooker. One is a luscious lava cake dessert that I've modified a bit to reduce the fat and the calorie content while preserving the nutrient content. I think you're actually going to really love this one. We will also prepare a ham and potato casserole dish. It could be used as an entree when served like with a fresh green salad. Make a complete meal like that, or it could be used as a side dish. It works very well as that. Our third recipe, we will be making a fall-inspired applesauce from our own Georgia-grown fresh apples. But this is not your traditional applesauce. This version contains pumpkin, and the combination is spectacular. The aroma of this is fantastic when it's cooking. This throwback comfort food is teeming with all the fall flavors, including cinnamon, nutmeg, a little brown sugar, and a lot of apple freshness. I know you have the recipe, so follow along with me and ask questions if you'd like to while we go along. First of all, I want to go through a little bit of information about slow cookers, and I learned a lot when I was reading this information, and this clarified a lot of the reasons why some of my dishes didn't actually turn out like I thought they should have using a slow cooker. So here are some helpful hints. What's better than throwing a bunch of ingredients in a pot and walking away and returning several hours later to find a hot, delicious meal waiting for you? There are loads of benefits to the slow cooker, but it also comes with its own set of rules. Because it's so convenient, there are often a lot of mistakes that go along with cooking with a slow cooker. So we're going to review these and really try to up your game with your slow cooker. One of the most common slow cooker mistakes is the addition of too much liquid. Unless you're making a soup or a stew, you really don't need extra liquid because it's low and slow heat, so there's little evaporation or steam released. That's compared to when you're cooking on the stovetop. So what you want to do is start with less liquid than you think you may need. Maybe cut it by 1/3 to start and kind of play with it a little bit. So if you're altering a recipe that you would normally use on the stovetop or in the oven, think about that, reducing the liquid by about 1/3. Here's my big mistake. Don't lift the lid while it's cooking. It lengthens the cooking time by letting the heat escape. It does not need to be stirred. Just leave it alone. Walk away from it. That's the beauty of a slow cooker. The slow cooker is a very versatile cooking tool. However, some ingredients like pasta and rice are best cooked separately. Part of the reason is that there's not enough liquid to really cook these ingredients thoroughly. Remember, this is a slow cooker and it takes a lot of time to build up the heat. So it doesn't really get hot enough to cook pasta or rice. It doesn't boil all that often. So the boiling temperatures required to cook pasta and rice are not going to be reached in the slow cooker. Instead, add the cooked pasta or rice at the end of the cooking if you want the flavors to meld a little bit. To be on the safe side, always use a thermometer to check the cooking temperature. Another item to consider at the last part of cooking process is using fresh herbs. Here's the reason. Because when food simmers for a long time, the flavor softens and the herbs will mellow out. Some herbs aren't strong enough to withstand the heat for like 5 or 6 hours. And that's usually the softer ones like parsley and chives. They just will break down and the flavors won't be there. Excuse me just a second. On the other hand, hearty herbs like rosemary or thyme, or even bay leaves can be added at the beginning and they'll carry through to the end of the cooking process. So for the soft herbs, consider adding these during the last 45 minutes or even right before you serve to keep that freshness and all the flavor of those. Don't use your slow cooker to cook chicken breasts. This cut of meat is so lean that it cooks quickly and will dry out and become tough and chewy. Now, instead, what you could use is chicken thighs or chicken legs. They work much better. They're less expensive too, which is always great, which is also a bonus, and they will retain their texture and taste much better than chicken breasts. That's not to say that you can't use them, but just understand that you might get a little bit tougher texture with the chicken breast. Okay, here's something that also was interesting to me. To avoid the mushy vegetable mistake, add hearty vegetables like onions and carrots in large chunks, and the more delicate vegetables like spinach and mushrooms, the softer ones, towards the end of the cooking time. That's always a really good idea. Number 7, don't overfill the pot. The lid must fit. I'm guilty of this. Resist the urge to stuff the slow cooker to the gills with as many ingredients as possible. Leave at least 1 inch of space at the top in case it bubbles over, number 1. But this also allows for air to circulate around the product, which really makes sense now that I know that. So it shouldn't be up like this. This needs to seal, the lid needs to seal, and then leave about 1 inch of a space. Okay, those are the slow cooker hints that I have for you, and these are all written down for you, so you'll have them as well. And then, so we're going to get started on the 3 recipes that I have. Our first recipe is an applesauce. Second recipe is a scalloped potato and ham, and the third recipe is the lava chocolate pudding cake. So we're going to get started with those. I'm going to switch out some ingredients here. All right, I'm going to put this smaller crock pot over here. We'll use this in just a moment. And we're going to get started with this applesauce recipe. This is so easy to make, and the flavors in this are absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm not going to actually put the ingredients in this cooker to show you the cake, lava cake, which goes in here and to demonstrate that. But you'll get the idea of what you need to do with this recipe. So we're going to start off with the apples. And I've got a mixture in here. I've got Gala apples, and I've got Golden Delicious apples and Granny Smith apples. And I've left the peeling on just to keep the fiber in there. And apples are really, really nutritious. They're a good source of antioxidants. They have got a lot of ascorbic acid in them, believe that or not. You think of that as being almost citrus, only coming from citrus fruits, but that's not true. Apples do have ascorbic acid in them. They've got another antioxidant called quercetin, and they've got cholinergic acid, and potassium is the mineral that's. All right, so I'm going to stir those around. So what we're going to do is just simply add all the ingredients in here. So we're going to add the pumpkin puree. This is nothing but canned pumpkin in here, not the pumpkin pie filling, but just pureed pumpkin. Again, another vegetable that's just teeming with antioxidants. Really good. And let's see, the next thing is to add the nutmeg and the cloves. So all spices, just a little bit of nutmeg. It's so strong. Sorry, this is cloves, a little bit of cloves. And more cinnamon. That's perfect for applesauce. And then I'm going to use a nutmeg, a fresh nutmeg in here. You may have seen me demonstrate this before. These are just the pods. You can see those, the seeds. And I'm just simply going to grate that against the grater like this. You will have to practice it a couple times. You will get your fingers, so don't worry about it. Just use the smaller grate on here. You could also use the finer one too. I just prefer this one. And I'm just going to grate it right in there. Of course, you can buy grated nutmeg. But I really like using this. And the color on the inside of the seed is absolutely fabulous. It's striated with a brown striation and tan. It's gorgeous. And the smell of this, the aroma, this is like being in fall. Okay. I just keep them in a jar in the cabinet. I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla extract. And you can use either apple juice in here. You could use apple cider if you want to, or water. I happen to like the apple juice, just 100% apple juice, not apple drink, but apple juice. Just simply pour that in. And stir it up. This recipe calls for it to cook for about 5 hours. I actually found I lowered the cooking time up just a little bit by about 45 minutes. And the reason why is because I wanted my apples to be to have a little bit more texture in them, not to be so very soft. If you wanted the texture to be softer, then just keep them in the slow cooker for a longer period of time. And you don't have to do anything to it. Just put it in there and walk away. Don't be tempted to lift the top like I always am. It'll be fine. You don't even need to stir it. Just leave it alone. Which is really different from what you normally do with cooking. You're so tempted to stir things. Okay, so you can spray the inside of this with a cooking oil. It'll just release the product a little bit easier. You don't have to. You don't have to do that, but if you don't want it to be a little bit sticky, then go ahead and do that. I did not add, go ahead.
I have one question. Someone said, did you say 4 hours and 45 minutes is what you do?
Yeah, I think for this one, I think it actually says cook and cover and cook on high for 5 hours on high, or 8 hours on low. I cooked it for about 4 hours, maybe, yeah, about 4.5 hours, about 4:15, something around that. I just wanted to check it at that time to see if the apples were still crisp, and they were, and that's when I decided I wanted to end the cooking process. But if you want the apples to be really, really soft, like very mushy, then just extend the cooking process. So just put that in there. Like I said, just walk away from it, and it'll be just fine. Okay, I wanted to show you what I did with this product and how you can actually use this in different ways besides just eating applesauce. So I'm going to set this over here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here are the two products. This is the product as I took it directly out of the cooker yesterday. You can see that there's still chunks of apple in there. And then I thought, well, maybe you would like to see it pureed as well. So all I did was puree it in the blender. You could also mash it yourself. I'm just going to use this to stir it a little bit so you can see. You see, I just pureed it, so you're back to what the normal consistency of an applesauce would be. But the pumpkin in here is a really great addition to this. It's just adds a different flavor profile for you. I would consider using this on top of a waffle or a pancake, and even a biscuit. I think it could be used to that. When I made this, I just put a little bit of brown sugar in it. I didn't put a lot because I wanted to be able to monitor the sweetness when I took it out. So if you're using it on something sweet like a waffle and you know you're going to be adding pancake syrup to it, I would not put a lot of sugar into this product because you're going to get the sweetness from whatever you add to it. If you're going to eat this plain, then you might want to add a little bit of brown sugar. You could also use honey. You could also use a light pancake syrup if you wanted to cut down on the calories just a little bit. I think this is a great way to eat for breakfast. It could actually be mixed into oatmeal. I think it would be a wonderful flavor, like a pumpkin spice oatmeal would be absolutely fantastic. So that's a couple of ways to use this as a dessert or as a breakfast food or as a snack. All right, I'm going to shift the ingredients over and we're going to get started on the scalloped potatoes.
All right, and while Valerie is doing that, we'll go ahead and get started with some trivia. So if you've never attended a session before, I'll post the question in the chat as well as say it out loud, and then you can send your answers to me as the moderator, and whoever answers first will win a trivia prize. So our first question is, name 2 antioxidants abundant in apples. 2 antioxidants.
I'll give you a hint. Look on the recipe card.
There's a hint.
That's a huge hint.
Somebody's probably up. Let's see. I'm gonna respond. All right, Charlotte Todd, you are our winner. Awesome. So if you can send me your mailing address where you would like your prize to be shipped, that would be great.
Perfect. Okay, this recipe is really tasty. It's hearty, it's filled with potatoes that have a lot of energy in them. As a matter of fact, potatoes provide more energy than their popular vegetables and have potassium and have more potassium than a banana in it. So traditionally this is baked in the oven. You might have it as a potato casserole or scalloped potatoes. And this also combines ham in this dish. So it could be used as an entree, or I said it also can be used as a side dish. You could substitute this ham for something else if you wanted to. If you wanted to use a ground chicken, this would work very well. If you wanted to use a low-fat sausage and make sure that they're cooked ahead of time, this would also be a great addition to the recipe. So, and it's very simple. Again, for this dish, I would spray the inside with a baking cooking oil because this will stick to the sides of the dish. So this is fairly simple. All I've done is slice the red potatoes just like this. Okay, and we're just going to layer the dish in here. I'm going to just plop in some potatoes, and I'm going to top it with a little bit of boiled ham. This is a fat, low sodium boiled ham, cooked boiled ham. And this is nothing more than onions in here. You can also add scallions. That would be fantastic in here. Just going to put those on top. Let me show you what I'm doing so you can see that. This dish cooks better in this size. I think this is about a 3-quart, maybe 2.5-quart, 3-quart slow cooker. I found it worked better with that. All right, and then we're just going to start with a little bit of cheese here. You could use mozzarella cheese if you wanted in this recipe. That would also be great, or a combination of both cheeses would be fabulous. I'm going to do another layer of potatoes. Spread those around. These red potatoes work so well in this dish. They cook really nicely in here. Another layer of the ham. right on top of there. A few more onions. This is also a very comforting smelling dish. You can have that. It just smells really homey to me. All right, and a little bit of cheese left on the top. All right, and the last layer, one more layer of potatoes. I don't want to get too high in here. Remember my own rules here. A little bit of the ham. And one more sprinkle of onion. Parsley would also be a good addition to this. And a little of the cheese on the top. Okay, so that's the basic ingredients there. The only thing left in here, this is cream of mushroom soup. I used a low sodium and a low fat cream of mushroom soup. And I'm just going to add, I think it's a half a cup of water. Yeah, let's see. I think it's about a half cup of water. And I'm simply going to mix that directly into this measuring cup. I'm going to give it a twist around with the whisk, this is an easy way to do this. Rather than putting it in a bowl, since you already have to add water ingredients to it, so it's just easier this way. Just whisk that around. Simply pour it on top. You could also use cream of celery soup in here if you wanted to. Use cream of chicken soup. I think this is a great dish to serve for company. It's really flavorful. It's easy to fix, and it feeds a crowd as well. And again, you could use it as a side dish or as an entree. Pop the top on it, and then this cooked on high for about 4 hours, and that was true when I did this. Something else you could use in here if you didn't want to add the water, you could also use milk. You could either use the dairy milk or a plant-based milk if you want to, a half a cup of either of those. Give it a little bit more creamy texture to it, but that's completely up to you. But add a little more protein as well to the dish, but that's completely up to you. I did not add any salt to this because I felt like there was, even though it was a low sodium soup, there's enough salt in it as well. And the ham was salty, so I didn't add any of that to it. But you could add other spices to it. You could add rosemary, you could add oregano to it would be a great addition to this. Pepper certainly would go with it well. So you could spice it up yourself and give that a trial when you're making it. All right, any questions about this recipe? Okay, then I'm going to switch out. We're going to make that lava cake.
All right, so we have another trivia question coming up while Valerie's switching out. So the next question is going to be, potatoes have more energy than any other vegetable. Is this true or false? All right, Marianne Willis, you are our prize winner. So if you could send me your address in a private chat, wherever you would like your prize mailed, that would be great. And since we have a little bit more time, I can go ahead and put another one out right quick.
Perfect.
Okay, so how much space in inches must be left at the top of a slow cooker? All right, Sharon, 1 inch. Yes, you are our first one to respond. So if you could send me your mailing address in a private chat, that would be awesome too.
All right, that's good. Sounds like I'm going to be sending out some gifts.
Some good prizes, yeah.
Good. Okay. All right, the last recipe here for the slow cooker is a lava cake. And this is a combination of pudding and cake together. And this will be the third time I've made this cake in the slow cooker, and it's turned out really well every time, and I've used it in a lot of different ways, and I'll show you that once we get finished here. This is a very simple recipe to follow. So we're actually starting off with a cake mix. And in the instructions that I gave you, I have one package of this cake mix, chocolate cake mix, a 2-layer cake mix. And then 1 1/4 cups of low-fat or skim milk. You could use plant-based milk, almond milk, which is what I'm using today, or dairy milk. And then 1/2 cup of vegetable oil and 3 eggs. Now, what I want to say is that I used this box today. And actually, the instructions on the back of the box are a little bit different than what I have here. So just look at whatever package of cake mix that you get and follow those instructions on the back. Not all of them are going to be what I have outlined here, and I realized that once I had put this together. They alter just a little bit. Some are, like this one says, it's perfectly moist devil's food. You might use a fudgy type cake and it might call for less water or more eggs or whatever. Just follow the directions on the back. It'll work just fine. Okay, so for this particular recipe, I am going to just dump in the cake mix just like that. And this calls for 3 eggs. And it calls for 1/3 cup of vegetable oil and 1 cup of water. We're simply just making the cake according to the directions. This is a vegetable-based oil that I use. This is canola oil. All right, we're just going to whisk it just like it says. Just beat it up. Smells very chocolatey, and it will smell very chocolatey in your house when you make this. So be ready. This dessert actually can be paired with like a Greek yogurt would go really well with it if you wanted to keep the calories a little bit low, like a non-fat Greek yogurt could be topped with that. I think a little bit of lime sherbet or maybe chocolate mint ice cream, if you wanted to spurge a little bit, would be excellent with this product. Okay, so from here, the instructions say to spray the cooker. So I'm actually going to do that right now. I need to grab the spray. Okay. Spraying this will allow this cake to pull away from the sides, which is what you want in here. It does make the cooking, the cleanup a little bit easier, but actually what we're trying to do is to get this cake to pull away from the sides of the dish and sort of cohese in there. So for the instructions, it just says place the cake ingredients together, mix everything together, and then pour it in a slow cooker. That's what we're going to do. Pour that right in there. I'll move this over here so you can see it. Okay, let's put it like that. And then we're just going to make the pudding, just according to the instructions as well. This is just instant pudding, not pie filling, but just instant pudding. The little container like that. And this is actually sugar-free. You could use regular if you wanted to, but I wanted to reduce the calorie content on this recipe, so I just used a sugar-free instant pudding in here. And I'm going to use a plant-based milk. This is almond milk. I'm just mixing it together. This gets pretty thick pretty quickly. We're not going to wait until it's completely thickened. We're going to use it before that. Just give it a bit of a stir in here. If you'll remember from some of our other sessions that chocolate is also packed full of antioxidants. So this is actually quite good for you in the antioxidant category. And it's not a real high calorie dish. All right, I'm going to pour that directly on top. It says do not stir it, so I'm not going to stir it. Okay, what's going to happen is that when this cooks, this pudding will actually sink to the bottom of this cake. And so then that's the lava part of it. And that's exactly what we want to happen. And then I'm just going to sprinkle it with some dark chocolate. You could use semi-sweet chocolate if you wanted to. You could use a combination of both. You could use white chocolate. That's completely up to you. It would give a little bit different flavor. You know, there's all kinds of flavored cooking chips out there. In any of these, I think would be a great way to experiment to see what kind of flavors you want to put together. All right, so we just pop the lid on the top of that. And this says on low heat for 2 hours, about 30 minutes, and that's just about what it was yesterday when I cooked. So it's pretty true for the temperatures and the timing. Don't touch it. Don't lift the lid. Let it continue to cook. When you think it's ready, you set the timer and take a look through the lid, and you should see that the pudding is bubbled up over the edges somewhat. It won't be completely over it, but you'll see it coming up over the edges, and that's what you want. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like. That's the cake right here. So I cut one piece. This is the soft lava part right here, and I want to cut one more piece, and I want to show you. So you can see that the pudding part is down here. This creamy part is right there. So it's really, really good. It's creamy. It's chocolate. Got a great flavor and aroma to it. I think it's an excellent dessert to make, especially for a crowd. It's pretty easy. You could make it and just walk away from it. But you could also use this as a parfait as well. And I just simply added it to a jar. I just layered, and I just put a little bit of sour cream in here with some cinnamon mixed in, and used it as a parfait. So use your own imagination with this. If you wanted to dollop a little bit of yogurt in between, I think it would be great. You could put some blueberries or strawberries in between this and have a completely different type of dessert.
Janice said she wants some.
I'm sorry?
Janice said she wants some. I think
Come on over. There's plenty. I have plenty here. I wish y'all could come over. That would be great. It would really help me out. Okay, so let me show you the finished products here. So that's the lava cake. Get some room here. This is the scalloped potatoes, and I just added it with a salad. I think that could be a complete meal, quite frankly. I really think it's a great meal. And I sprinkled a little bit of paprika on the top of the potato casserole. I also do hot sauce, which I think would be really good. The potato casserole made this much. I just shifted into a serving dish. So add what I have in the bowl to that, and you can see how much product there is. There's quite a bit of product in here. All right, and last is the applesauce. Pumpkin applesauce. So we got through 3 recipes pretty quickly. Are there any questions? We might have some more quiz questions. I can't remember. Let's see. I think you might have gone through all the quiz questions.
We actually have one more quiz question.
What is it?
It is, what's the best way to ensure your food has been cooked to the proper temperature? So what is the best way to ensure your food has been cooked to the proper temperature?
Not only to this, but
Okay,
everything.
yeah, you were our first one.
Perfect. Yay.
All right, a thermometer. That's correct. Yes. And if you all have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. I know we went through these recipes. That's awesome. We did 3 in less than 45.
Yeah, I was worried we wouldn't get through them.
Yes, feel free to ask Valerie. And we thank you all so much for just attending these sessions and hanging with us. I know we've seen some familiar faces and names for the past 4 sessions, so we thank you all for attending.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun, and I'm looking forward to next semester. So
Yes, we have tons of new opportunities coming up next semester to talk with Valerie and get some tips.
Yep. Well, as usual, everyone, have a great, bountiful fall harvest. Eat all those great fall foods that are out there to be able to keep yourself healthy. And as usual, don't forget to wash your hands.
Someone says thank you for all the great information.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Oh, and I'll
My
also
pleasure.
send over the holiday eating guide to everyone that Valerie has so graciously made for us, this healthy holiday guide. So you'll receive that in an email at the end of the session. Someone said, would you please consider doing a session on Instant Pot next semester?
Yes, yes, that's on my list. I'm going to ask for that for Christmas. I have to practice.
Someone said also air fryers.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, I haven't done anything with an air fryer yet. So many gadgets, not enough time. Those are
They
great
said this has
suggestions.
been great. Thank you. Someone says they now have a combo of an Instant Pot and air fryer in one.
Yeah, I've seen that out on the market. Trying to keep up with that. Cruise that aisle and look to see what new gadgets are out.
I haven't seen that one.
I want the one that also vacuums your floor.
All in one.
Washes the dishes.
Someone, she says on her team made one of your recipes and shared it with the team. Oh, that's awesome.
Great. Oh, how nice to hear. I love feedback. That's so good to hear.
That's awesome. I'm excited to try these slow cooker ones. I'm like, I don't have to even look at it or touch it or anything.
They're really great. Yes, I'm very grateful for my mother for giving me one when I went off to college. That was a long time ago, but
Sharon says she's going to make the potato recipe this weekend, and Dr. Lamb says the robot vacuums are so worth it.
I agree. I agree. I haven't experienced that yet. My brother has one. They're very nice.
And if you all have any specific questions, you're welcome to come off mute and we can chat too. Someone says, love. Lorna says she loves the Instant Pot. She got one for all of her daughters and sisters. She hasn't tried the combo, but purchased one as a gift recently.
All right, it's definitely on the radar.
Awesome. I have so many gadgets where you can just easily cook things so quickly and not even think about it. And
Yes, much more than when I was growing up. Probably in the last, I guess, 20 years, they've really come out with a lot more.
yeah, same to you, Dr. Lamb. Have a great week. Have a great week. And have a wonderful week. Someone else says, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I said, thanks again. Looking forward to next semester.
That makes 2 of us.
I think we're on this up here. Perfect. I think, well, we have a few more people. She said, thank you, Valerie. Wendy says she enjoyed all 4 sessions.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. That's really nice to hear.
And I think, let's see. I think that's pretty much everyone. We have 1 participant left. That's Wendy. But if you don't have any further questions, Wendy, we thank you for coming.
Thanks, Wendy.
Yes, this is so awesome, Valerie. I'm like, you rocked it. It was great.
Well, thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. I just wish everyone was here to have a big feast with me.
Yes, I know. I'm like, what do you usually do with like the extra food? Like,
I do have some people that I give the food away to.
Okay.
Yeah. It's way too much for me to eat.
That's so good. I want to try the pumpkin. Is there pumpkin in the applesauce, right? You said?
It is. It's pumpkin puree and the applesauce. It's such a good combination.
I'm gonna have to try that. I usually make pumpkin bread. That's my favorite thing over this season. Yes. So I'm constantly baking bread. Applesauce. I haven't ever tried that.
Yeah. So buy a large can of the pumpkin puree. You'll use about half of it.
Okay.
In the applesauce, you could use the other half for the bread.
For the bread, yes, because I never have anything to do with the other half of it. I usually just like make another batch of bread, but that's a good idea now. Yes. Well, thank you so